Hello, everyone, and welcome to another audio commentary. Sorry, we haven't done one of these for quite a while, but well, you know, we've been busy, and obviously the world has been in a state of flux with the COVID pandemic. So, to anyone out there watching globally, hope you're all doing all right during this crazy time. But today is a rather special commentary because we are actually going to commentate on Diamonds Are Forever, which is the 7th Bond movie, which is actually Sean Connery's 6th and final Bond film. Well, officially in the official Eon series. And also the reason why it's special is because it is actually, well, yesterday it was Sean Connery's 90th birthday. So happy birthday, Sean Connery. I raise a glass virtually to Sean Connery. Happy birthday. I'm joined by my good friend and subscriber, Jack McCulloch, or Jack the Film Fanatic, I should say. That's his proper name. So, hi, Jack. Welcome back.
You're a bit late to the party. My birthday was yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, you wish. Happy 90th birthday. But no, yeah. Diamonds Are Forever. Now, this is going to be a very interesting commentary because this is a kind of divisive one on both our fronts. Jack is going to be the defense, and I'm going to be the offense. So I'm not a big fan of this one. I don't really like Diamonds Are Forever that much, despite a few things in it. Jack is a proud defender of it, even though he doesn't think it's perfect. There might be a few bitch slaps here and there. You know, we might start arguing like an old married couple, but I'm sure it won't come to that. But if it does, enjoy. Jack, is there anything you want to say before we commence?
Just that diamonds are forever, as Shirley Bassey said.
Yes, yeah, that's true. So yeah, happy birthday, Sean Connery. This is for you. And so I think we'll be ready. So do you want to do the countdown, or shall I do it? You okay?
I think I'll do it. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go! It's Leo the Lion.
Yeah. Good old Leo. I've not watched a Bond film for quite a while, actually. Not since Spectre.
Yeah. Actually, funnily enough, I watched this recently when I was on holiday. So, yeah.
It's nice to actually see that gun barrel come back, the one from You Only Live Twice. Because it's nice that Connery actually did his own one in the end, and instead of the Bob Simmons jump, which was probably a bit ridiculous, come to think about it.
Yeah. No, people point this out, and I kind of, it's kind of understandable. Like, some people say this is a sequel to You Only Live Twice because it opens in Japan, and Calvin Dyson's pointed that out. So, you either say this is a sequel to that or On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, nobody really knows because the canon of the old Bond films is kind of fucked up, but yeah.
Well, I think it was meant to be intended as a sequel to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. It's sort of, I mean, you could kind of see it your own way. I guess it's ambiguous, but I think because of the end of the previous film, we just assume this carries on straight afterwards. It's just that James Bond regenerates or degenerates back into his old body.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, you can kind of tell Connery's put on a bit of weight. I think after he did You Only Live Twice, he sort of gave up on the role, and then they asked him back for this film, and it was a lot of money to get him back. But I'm glad they did. I mean, I'd take Connery any day over George
Yeah.
Laserbeam, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that scene there where he was strangling the girl with the bra. I mean nowadays that would be fucking frowned upon. You get your film panned for that, in the Me Too movement. But different time, different rules. I mean that's the one thing about Connery's era. It's very, I guess, yeah, it is sexist. I'm not going to deny that. There are the way he does sort of treat his women is, I mean, it's typical of the character, but for the time, yeah, it's certainly much more. Say slanderous maybe than some of the newer Bond films, but yeah, take that how you will.
Yeah, well, Connery always said, it was okay to hit women. But, yeah.
Sorry, Sean, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, only do
Hello,
I.
Harry.
But, yeah.
I see Harry's in the chat. Yes, Harry, we mentioned that at the very start of the video. Thank you for wishing Connery a happy birthday.
Yeah. And this is his last film Bond as well.
Well, in the official series. Isn't me? I mean, this liquid looks like curry sauce mixed with cement. It's
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like. I don't know what. I think it's like their plastic surgery or something like that. But yeah,
I guess it's some kind of yeah. Exactly. Yeah, like you say. I reckon it's some kind of latex compound or something.
Yeah.
Blofeld.
Quite like Charles Gray's Blofeld. It's got a lot of villainous charm.
Yeah, I think he's decent as Blofeld. There is a scene we'll get to later, but I'll spare my thoughts for that. But yeah.
Yeah.
The way he puts his hands up. So camp.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me, lass. I'm James Bond.
Much strap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. To me, this opening is kind of anticlimactic. It's like the whole film should have really been him going after Blofeld for the revenge of, his wife. But I suppose it's hard to really. I don't know. It's hard to connect it because they're two different actors than the previous film. But also they're trying to force you to think that this is after the previous film. So, like you say, the continuity is very confused. Yeah, we know Blofeld's not dead.
Welcome to hell, Blofeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think this opening doesn't really do much for me.
Well, that's fair enough. Personally, I enjoy it for what it is. I mean, I think they were going to do a sequel to Honor Your Majesty's Secret Service, and they were going to have it more like a revenge thriller. If George Lazenby was going to stay in the role, but they decided to scrap that because Connery was going back. And for me, I enjoy Dance Forever. What it is, it's just I mean, it's not the best Bond film ever, but it's the first Bond film I saw, and I was nostalgic affection for it. And it's just I say this is probably sort of the start of the real comedic James Bond era, like because
yeah,
after
yeah. I'll give it this. The title sequence and song are actually some of the best. So that's one thing that's going for it. I like this sequence very much. And the song by Shirley Bassey is great. Potentially one of the best songs in the series. But yeah, the film as a whole doesn't do it for me. Yeah.
No sense of humor.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well, the previous film, it was trying to take Bond in a serious direction and it was trying to do something different and more emotional, and the audience didn't connect with it. I mean, they do now, but back in the day, it was kind of looked on as like it wasn't Bond, and also nobody connected with George Lazenby. Well, very few people did anyway. Yeah, I guess it was a safe bet to bring Connery back and just go back to the sort of more sort of campy comedic style. But I just don't think this film knows its limits. Me personally, it doesn't know its limits. But yeah, I mean, thankfully, Live and Let Die proved to be much better than this.
Yeah, well, I prefer Live and Let Die, obviously, but I mean, it does camp it up, and I can understand some people don't like that. But personally, I just enjoy this as a camp laugh, and I don't. I mean, I know a lot of people say this is Connery's worst, but I would personally take it over Thunderball because at least it isn't a boring mess like Thunderball. Like you don't have a crap villain, you don't have a unengaging plot. I mean, you know, for
Yeah.
me, this is just sort of like they try to make it more like Goldfinger by getting in Guy Hamilton, and I just enjoy it for what it is, just a camp laugh. And I can understand if people were disappointed after. Well, some people were disappointed, I think, after On a Master Secret Service because this sort of camps it up and goes into more unrealistic territory. But like I said, for me, it's just a bit of a laugh. Just sort of sit down,
Yeah.
with a bit of popcorn, have a bit of fun. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, each to their own, but it does have good things. I mean, thank God Connery actually came back. I mean, he agreed to do it at a very high cost, but they were lucky to get him back at all, really. I guess, and again, it was a safe bet. They knew he was popular and everyone loved him, and they didn't want Lazenby to come back. So, it's. I mean, I appreciate what they had to go through, but to me, it cheapens the look of the rest of the film. But more on that later when we get to Las Vegas, and we kind of stay there for most of the film, which is kind of a shame to me. But yeah.
I mean, per se, it doesn't bother me, but I think it's not really Guy Hamilton's fault when it came to the budget of this film. They blew so much money on the fact that they wanted Connery back, so that's why. I mean, they were originally going to have a different ending as well. They were going to have an ending where Bond chases Blofeld into a salt mine, and he falls to his death and gets killed in the salt mine. They have a fight, which I think would have been a better climax than on the oil rig. But
damn you!
Yeah. No, I mean personally, I think with this, I think with this film, they were trying to, I think they were trying to, I mean, they were trying to make a more of a safe movie after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because that sort of took risks with the whole emotional storyline and Bond getting married and having George Lazenby. So I think for this one they wanted a more like a safe movie. Like I think the producers said they wanted Guy Hamilton because he did Goldfinger, and they're like, well, he's a safe pair of hands. Let's just make a fun film that people can enjoy. I think they weren't really trying to make the best Bond film with this one, which is probably why some don't like it. But
I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like Guy Hamilton as a director, but I think kind of the situation was out of his control. I mean, they were sort of desperate to get this movie on track, and I think, like I said, desperate to get Connery, and he didn't have a lot to work with. So perhaps, I mean, the script itself, to me anyway, needed a lot of work, and I think if Guy Hamilton had better material to work with, he could have done something like Goldfinger. But alas, he tried his best. So I'll be considerate in that respect, but I can't say I like the film. I'm sorry. I think it's Guy Hamilton's weakest Bond film. But
that's fair.
That's just my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah. Personally, I prefer it to Man with Golden Gun, but yeah. I think. What was I going to say? No, I mean, I like the stuff with the diamond smuggling. I think that's quite good. That's an interesting part of the film. And one thing I will say is it's kind of ironic that Die Another Day sort of ripped the plot off of this, like, putting the diamonds in the satellite, It's kind of interesting that Lee Tamahori just sort of decided to rip off the storyline of this, but...
Yeah, everything about Die Another Day. Literally everything about Die Another Day was a reference. Even Brosnan was a reference to his own films. I mean, that's this mentality that film had. Like, everything is a reference, just because it was the 40th anniversary. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, and here you got I think it's Bruce
Winton.
Glover. Yeah, Bruce Glover, who's actually the guy who plays the guy with the one without the glasses. I think that's Bruce Glover, and he's the father of Crispin Glover. He was in Back to the Future as George McFly, but yeah.
Interesting. Also, for me, you may disagree with me, but this is, for me, one of John Barry's weakest scores. I don't know. It's just dull. Like, it's not bad, but it doesn't really have any energy, which is a shame. I mean, there are good tracks later on. Don't get me wrong. The track for the oil rig is great. I mean, but that track has been used in other films. It's this the it gets a bit repetitive to me. I'm sorry if that sounds like a nitpick, but it just it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, personally, it doesn't bother me. It's not one of, for me, I don't think it's one of his weakest. I think maybe there's a few other ones in there that are a bit weaker. I would have to look at all the John Barry soundtracks, but yeah. I'd personally take it over the Bill Conti score in For Your Eyes Only, the sort of 80s synthesizers. I just can't stand that. You know, the like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, these two assassins here, Wint and Kid, I like them. I think they're good. Remember Alan, his review said, like, why did they have to be gay? Well, just to answer your question, Alan, they were gay in the books, so that's why they're gay in the film. But yeah, I mean, they're sort of played for a laugh, and I know Sam Harrison said they're his favorite Bond assassins. I wouldn't quite go that far. I don't think they're as good as like Oddjob or Jaws, but I think they're amusing for what they are. I mean, they sort of appear and sort of try and kill Bond off at some points, but yeah, it's kind of funny that, I don't know, this is sort of LGBT representation like 50 years before. It sort of became a popular thing now in films, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, people will criticize anything. I mean, it was a product of the time. I mean, as for Wint and Kid, I have no issue with the fact that they're gay. You know, I mean, they could be whatever. You know, it wouldn't matter to me. It's the fact to me that they're a little bit annoying. They're not like the worst characters in the franchise, but I don't know. I just never really liked them as characters. I just always found them annoying. You know, every sentence is like at the end they always say Mr. Wint, Mr. Kid, and I don't know. Like I just never thought Bond was intimidated by them. But you know, it's not necessarily the actors' fault. I mean, I guess they're trying their best, but it's potentially the writing for the characters. But yeah.
I mean, personally, I like some of their lines, like "Oh, what a glowing tribute, Mr. Wint," or whatever. But I can understand them not everybody's cup of tea, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give the film this. Sean Connery is trying, and he gives a more refreshing performance than he did in You Only Live Twice. I mean, he's had 4 years off, so that's probably why. But yeah, I mean, obviously in You Only Live Twice, he looked bored to shit, so that didn't really help with his performance.
Yeah. This looks really good on Blu-ray. I mean, this film's nearly fucking 50 years old.
Oh god. Yeah, wait, next year it will be 50 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Connery's nearly been gone from the franchise for 50 years.
Wow. Well, in the official series, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame. This is Moneypenny's only scene in the film.
Yeah. I think it's quite nice, though. It's kind of a nice scene where he's like, "Oh, would you settle for a fly or something like that from Holland?"
Yeah. Settle for a chiller.
Yes.
I wish that I mean it's a passing cameo, isn't it? I mean she kind of struggled with Lazenby, I think, because it was weird, like they had an age difference. I just never thought Lazenby and Maxwell had any chemistry. She built up good chemistry with Roger Moore, and Connery, but yeah, I don't think with Lazenby she really worked. But that wasn't her fault. That was the fact he was so young. He was 29. She was, however old she was.
Yeah. Amsterdam, Arc of Infinity.
Yeah, Arc of Infinity.
Isn't it funny that both this film and Arc of Infinity, you give the same rating, and they're both set in flipping Amsterdam?
Yeah, I don't know whether Amsterdam was one of the more cheaper places to go for the Bond producers. I think they were trying to choose locations that were a little bit cheaper because of Connery's salary. again, not necessarily their fault, but yeah, it's not the most. This film isn't the most exotic looking Bond film, but
Yeah. Well, I
it's
mean,
okay.
uh, yeah, I mean, personally, I would disagree with that. I don't think really there's anything the matter with the scope in this. Like, I think Las Vegas, we haven't been there before. That's a nice location, and Amsterdam's a nice city, and it looks good on film. For me personally, I think even though I prefer Live and Let Die, you can make an argument that the locales for that are less exciting because they're basically set most of that on the bayou, and it was shot on cheaper film. One thing I will say is, like, even if you're not a fan of diamonds, for me personally, I think it I think it looks expensive for what it is because they do this is on widescreen and all that and stuff. And with Living That Die and Man with the Golden Gun, they sort of went down the cheaper route with the locales. I thought in the filming, like Man the Golden Gun, that's basically all set in Thailand, which really bored me because there was like virtually no locations. At least for me, at least Diamonds just does go to different locales around the world. But like I felt like with Man of the Golden Gun, the sort of Thailand location really bored me
Yeah,
after a while because that was all just set there. But
yeah.
yeah,
But in terms of this, sorry, I disagree. I mean, fair enough. It's not. It's not. I'm not saying it's like the worst looking Bond film ever, and it does go to places. But I just, it would have been nice to have a bit more variety. But again, again, it's not really their fault. It's they had to work with the budget they had because of Connery's salary. So yeah, it wasn't really. It was out of their control. But I actually quite like the locations in Live and Let Die. I mean, yeah, it's all kind of set more or less in Jamaica or wherever. Um, in that part, but I mean, it had to be because of the story. This could have been set anywhere. Again, Las Vegas is great. I'm not shitting on it at all, but to me, it's when I say exotic, it's like the locations they don't have the same sort of glamour as the previous Bond films. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, this film is trying to be different in that respect. So yeah, it to me, it just would have been nice to have some more variety. I guess I got a bit bored of Las Vegas after a while. I mean, I got bored of the film, so that's kind of Again, not necessarily their fault, but circumstances. Yeah,
well, I mean, personally for me, I think this is more exotic locations in Man. Like I said, Man the Golden Gun is just basically all set in Thailand, and I like Man the Golden Gun. Um, one of my criticisms of that film was that it was all just sort of set in Thailand, one sort of location, and after a while, you just sort of got bored of that one location. I think Diamonds does try to change it up a bit, like you have Amsterdam and Las Vegas and stuff like that. But yeah, I can understand what you're saying, like like to go to other locations around the world. But yeah, I mean, personally, like I don't mind the Las Vegas setting. But I mean, talking about Tiffany Case, I mean, I think I quite like Jill St. John as Tiffany Case. I know you're not the biggest fan of Tiffany Case, but I think what I like about her is she is quite smart. It's not until the ending fight on the oil rig where she becomes a bit of a bimbo. But up until that point, I think she's quite a smart character, and I do like some of Connery's dialogue. Oh, weren't you a redhead when I came? Or, sorry, weren't you a
yeah.
blonde when I came in? And all that. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it won't surprise you to know that I disagree. But let me say this. Hear me out. I do think her and Connery have some chemistry. I'll say that. But I just never bought into her character. After Tracy, it just seems like, oh, we're back to sort of. She's felt like a bit of a stereotypical Bond girl. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's actually no. Maybe that's a bit harsh. But I just never really liked her character that much. Like she was just kind of annoying. I don't know. I just like she always mouthing off and she always had attitude. I don't know, like just something about her. I didn't care for her, but she's attractive. She is attractive. She's not the worst Bond girl, but I never cared for her, to be honest. And yeah, at the end of the film, she does turn into a bimbo. But yeah, sorry.
That's all right. I always like their sort of smart arse remarks, but
Yeah,
that's what I kind of like about it. She feels more like I don't know, like a Bond girl that was sort of talk back to Bond, and I kind of like that. She's not just like, oh James, you're so sexy. I'll just shut up and do nothing, But I mean, Sean Connery here is quite funny. I think when he's putting on the accent, he's like, "Oh, who is your floor?" Like, it's quite funny. But
Yeah. Is he trying to do a German accent or something?
yeah, he is. Yeah, he's pretending he's this foreigner to sort of, so this guy
Yeah.
won't suspect he's James Bond. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And to me, this elevator fight is the only good action scene in the film. Another reason why I'm not a fan of Diamonds Are Forever, I just find the action to be kind of like it's just so half baked. Like, I mean, this fight is great. It's enclosed and it's tight, and the fact that they shot it in a lift as well is quite intense. I just wanted more of the film to be like that, but I guess not. I mean, even the car chase didn't do much for me, but we'll get to that later. But this is a great fight.
yeah, no, it's a great fight. Now, personally, I like most of the action in Diamonds. I like the car chase and the moon buggy chase and stuff, but I think this is the most brutal sort of fight in this, which I do like. It's probably my favorite action scene of the film, but yeah. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
that's one thing to say about Connery. He was tough in the fight scenes, and he got into some brutal scraps in his time as Bond.
Yeah, apparently he always liked having a scrap in James Bond, but yeah, he always liked doing the fight scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I quite like the music here. I think it adds to the tension of the fight here.
Yeah, I mean it's all right. You know, this like I say, there are certain tracks that are actually good, like this track, and there's one later that are pretty good. But the sort of overall background score is just dull to me. But yeah, again, each to their own. See ya.
That's one thing. Like Connery always wore that sort of suit in pretty much all his films. The sort of grey suit he has. I think in like Doctor No and Goldfinger and stuff. The sort of grey suit, the black tie, and all that.
Yeah, I think even in From Russia with Love he wears it. But I think they sort of adopted a similar type suit for Daniel Craig in Skyfall. Skyfall at the very beginning he wears a grey suit. Actually, I think he wears grey for quite a majority of the film, actually, which is interesting. But yeah, I think Bond always looks good in grey. I don't know any of the other actors if they wore grey. Potentially Brosnan, but I can't remember.
Yeah. I thought that scene was quite funny where he switches his identities and she's like, "Oh, you just killed James Bond." He's like, "Oh, is that who it was?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what she should have said to Lee Tamahori in 2002, but oh well.
Yeah.
Thankfully, only for 4 years,
I'm
though.
glad we're not commentating on that shit. I mean, this is the last Bond commentary of the official series before the new Bond film comes out, which won't be out in Blu-ray for quite a while. So I'm glad we're commentating on it. I'm glad this is our last one instead of Die Another Day, because Jesus, I don't know if I could sit through that crap again. But yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting commentating on all of the films. I mean, over time, of course, we've done it. So, yeah. So, No Time to Die, yeah. I hope, I mean, judging by the Tenet release, I mean, hopefully it will release in November. It looks promising. So, yeah. And I found out in America, certain states have their cinemas open and certain states are shut, are sort of in quarantine. So in America, it will take longer for the new releases to make money, but they'll still do it. So that's good. It looks promising. So fingers crossed by November we'll get the new Bond film.
Yeah. I know you disagree with me, but I actually think this film kind of suits Sean Connery. I mean, he is more like the serious Bond, but for a one-off, I actually don't mind it because, I was watching Last Crusade was on earlier, um, and Sean Connery's actually quite good at comedy, and I think he's quite good in this as well. Like, oh, here's my brother. We were inseparable. Like I thought that was quite funny, but yeah. I mean. I'm kind of glad Roger Moore debuted with the next film because, I mean, people say this suited Roger Moore better, but at the same time, like considering people don't really like this one, maybe it wouldn't have been a good starting off point for Roger Moore. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, either way, I think they knew that Connery was only going to be back for one more. I don't think they. I mean, they would have loved him to carry on, but I don't think Connery had the enthusiasm to do more than one. I mean, he was happy. He was just getting paid the big bucks for it. So, yeah.
well, I think Tom Mankiewicz or one of the screenwriters begged Connery to come back for Live and Let Die, and he said, "Oh, I've got a pool, I've got everything I ever wanted, I've got a golf course, I'm not coming back." And I think it was probably the right time for Connery to step down as Bond because, one thing I will say about Connery is, even though it's great to have him back here, he hasn't aged the best. Like, he was only 40 or 41 when he did this film, and he looks like he's in his 50s. I mean, Roger Moore, funnily enough, in the next film, even though he was like 3 years older than Connery, he actually looked better than Connery in Diamonds Are Forever. He looked younger, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I mean, Connery looks okay here. I mean, he gets away with it, but like you say, yeah, you can tell he's aged a bit, and his sort of physical appearance has changed since You Only Live Twice. But considering this is his last one in the official series, we'll let it slide. But yeah, I mean, regardless, he'll still be remembered as a great Bond. I mean, there's no question about that. Even though he lost his enthusiasm earlier on. But it's nice to see some of that old charm come back into his performance, and I think it was a better end in terms of his performance. It was a better performance to end on than his one from You Only Live Twice. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is that one line there that we just went past, which is one of my favorites. Just in a Bond film in general, like where he says, I think he's like, oh, he's like, oh, you got a brother, and he's like, yes. He's like, I got a brother, and he's like, oh, and then Bond says, oh, small world. But that's quite funny, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I think Connery even said with this one that he wanted to sort of leave on a good note because he said he was kind of glad to come back because um, he only lived twice. He left on a very bad note. He had fights with the producers. He wasn't a fan of either the producers and Harry Saltzman or Cubby Broccoli. And he's sort of sleepwalking through. You Only Live Twice. I mean,
yeah,
it was, his
yeah.
performance there really suffered. You could tell he was bored as hell. And I
To
think
be fair,
Connery.
I don't blame him. I mean, he was doing so how many consecutive films in a row. So no wonder his enthusiasm went down. I mean, yeah, it's a shame he didn't try harder. But I mean, he had what 2 years. We had a bit of a longer gap between his fourth and his fifth movie, but the first four films he did them all year after year after year. So I'm not surprised. He was probably worn out more than anything else. So yeah, but thankfully, like you say, he came back to end on a good note. So, and that's six movies. He's got six films in the official series. You can, and if you want to include Never Say Never Again, then fair enough. But yeah,
Then he has 007 films.
yeah. But no, as for me, Roger holds the record as the most amount of films in the series thus far per actor. So yeah.
Yeah, well, Roger did 7 official films, and Connery did 6, and an unofficial one, which doesn't count. But it's just a remake of Thunderball. But yeah, I think with Sean Connery, like, yeah, it was nice that he came back and gave a better performance here. because he was sort of sleepwalking through You Only Live Twice, and I kind of agree with Alan. Like, even if he was, suppose he was having fights and all, he could have put a bit more into You Only Live Twice as sort of looking bored as hell. But at least he did come back for this and sort of end on a good one. But yeah, I mean, this character's interesting here. I think it's like shady tree, and his acorns, but yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. But it's kind of bittersweet when each actor leaves. Well, apart from Lazenby, and to an extent,
Brosnan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I appreciate what Brosnan tried to do, but to me, it didn't really work. But I mean, when Connery went, I think people kind of knew that Connery wasn't going to be back forever. They only thought, well, he'll come back for this one. I think they were aware of the situation. I think they were just happy that Lazenby wasn't in it. So, yeah.
Actually, this scene here where Bond's put into the thing and he's about to be burnt, cremated.
Coffin,
yeah. This is actually my first memory of James Bond. This scene here, I remember like watching this as a kid, and this is like I can't. I mean, I think I watched the whole film. I think I watched the film after this point, but this is like the first memory I had of James Bond. This whole scene where he's in the coffin, he's about to be burnt, and this is actually a pretty tense scene. I think this is another scene where you think, oh shit, Bond might not be able to get out of this one. Like the scene in the lift, yeah. But yeah. So I mean, I will always like Diamonds, despite the sort of hate it gets from some fans. Like, I mean, pretty much all the fans I've seen hate this one, or say it's one of the worst. And I mean, I'm glad there are people though out there that do like it. I know Sam likes it, and my cousin likes it, and I like it, and I've seen a few other people on Facebook and stuff, so they like it. So, I mean, that's good,
Yeah. I think that's every Bond film has its fans. Even Die Another Day has a couple of people that defend it. So yeah, it's interesting. You could get sort of 2, 3, or 4 people to write down their rankings of the Bond franchise, and you'd be hard pressed to have 2 that match identically. So, and that's the beauty of the franchise. Everyone has a different opinion on it, and yeah, I'm sorry, I go with the majority here, but there's no right or wrong. It's just subjective, isn't it? And that's what's great about film is it is subjective, and it's however you see it. And I think that's what's important. And don't be influenced by reviews or other people. And that's why I'm glad in your review you were just honest. You just said, well, I like it, and that's great. Don't be afraid of the backlash.
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally don't give a damn if somebody like
Daniel Craig.
Hates.
don't look like I give it.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it comes to my opinion on Bond, because I mean, there are films that we like that people, and there are films that we like in the Bond series people despise. Like me and you both like If You Do a Kill, and there's a lot of Bond fans who despise that, and Spectre as well. So there's always going to be Bond films. Like I think every Bond film is sort of divisive. There's going to be people who shit on every Bond film, and there's going to be people who shit on some of the Bond films that we love, and we're going to shit on some of the Bond films that other people love. I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are people who love Skyfall like you and me, but there are some people who don't like Skyfall, and that's fair enough.
Yeah. But it would be a real treat to see all the Bond films on the big screen again, like all of them. Like, maybe not the Die Another Day, but some of the classic ones would be great to see on the big screen. I know they won't do it as such. I don't think they'll do it, but it would be nice to re-release the old classic Bond films because I bet you any money, people would go and see them. Hardcore Bond fans would go and watch them. Especially in the run up to No Time to Die. That would be exciting.
Yeah, and not just hardcore Bond fans. I think younger people and people will probably want to see it as well because it's James Bond and it's a very popular franchise. But yeah, I mean, I heard they were doing it in America, but yeah, not here. But yeah.
Oh my god, here we go. Plenty O'Toole.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Lana Wood is, oh my god, she is beautiful. I mean, look at her. She's a dynamite. But the character is nothing. And that's not her fault. It's they cut out some scenes that actually added to her character. The deleted scenes of this film, there was a scene with her and Tiffany that actually helped understand her character a bit more. Instead, we see her now and then we see her die. It's she's kind of wasted, really.
I mean, personally, I don't mind. I mean, this line's great. I am plenty. Well, of course you are.
Okay, that was funny. I'll give it that.
Named after your father, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, personally, I don't mind that Tiffany didn't get a huge amount of doing this because I mean, not all Bond girls are like need huge character development. I mean, let's be honest, Bond just bed some of them because he just wants to fuck him like Plenty O'Toole. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder who he's going to bed in the new film. Well, I think he'll bed Anna de Armas, and obviously Madeline. So I think Bond will get some action in the new one.
Yeah. That's if he isn't James Cook. Only joking. Oh.
I mean, they do call him Sean Connery.
Well, only on our sketches.
Yeah, well, that's what we call him anyway. That's bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I will say is, at least with Las Vegas, you get sort of the swankiest gambling scene that you'll ever see in a Bond movie. Like, I think it would have been sacrilege at one point if they never went to Las Vegas in any of the movies. I mean, this is probably the best gambling scene one of the best gambling scenes in the series, just because of the location, really. Las Vegas is known for all that, like for the casinos and everything. So, Bond fits right into this environment. So they did choose a good location. I'm not saying they didn't choose a good location, but just some variety would have been nice. But I won't dwell on that anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, this kind of reminds me a bit of Casino with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. I'm just expecting him to put Sean Connery's head in a vice or something, but yeah. No, but no, yeah. I mean, personally, I like the Las Vegas setting in this. I mean, the sets and all look very nice and stuff. So,
the sets or the sex?
Well, the sets and the sex.
Oh, Bond was about to get plenty.
Yeah, and then these guys came in.
Yeah. So they must have had a spare key card for the door.
Yeah, or just intimidated someone to get it. This is funny. Exceptionally fine shot. I didn't know there was a pool down there.
There are some funny lines in the film, don't get me wrong, but I mean, me personally, I'm kind of getting a bit bored. I'm finding the pace to drag a bit. I know you may disagree, but sorry, I struggle to get into this one.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like me of Octopussy. Personally, I think Octopussy as a more comedic Bond feels on a much bigger level because you got Roger Moore who's past it by that point, and I think a lot of the comedy is just really forced and unfunny. Here, I think the script's quite witty, and I think Sean Connery, he's good at comedy, and he sort of proved that with Indiana Jones and stuff. So
Sean comedy
kind of pulls it off, But yeah, and plus, Octopussy to me was like so generic in comparison. Like, yeah,
that's kind of how I feel about this. To be honest, it is very generic. Octopussy to me was a bit more fun, but fair enough. I mean, Octopussy is decent. I'm not saying it's great. I mean, it is campy, but to me, it's not quite as much as this. But again, each to their own. Everybody sees it differently. I do agree. Dressing Bond as a clown really wasn't really necessary.
Well, no, what was worse was when you had him in that fucking crocodile submarine thing. Like, it's not funny, and I just find that film really boring. I mean, personally, I think the pacing in this is better than that. Like, Octopussy for me just dragged and rewatch, and I'm a fan of Roger Moore, but I just thought a lot of the comedy in that field, and like I said, Moore was sort of past it by that point. But
yeah. Then he's one more. He did one more, Roger Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see your point about, watching this is kind of light fun. You don't have to think about it too much. It's just a fun romp, and fair enough. I just wish I could get into it. I'm just honestly not interested in it. But yeah, it's going on, and not much is happening. But yeah.
I will admit there are some pacing issues. I'm not going to say it's completely flawless. I did find when I watched it, parts of it do drag a bit. But for me, the film's just it's just a fun laugh. And I mean, I'm not saying you are, but I think with some people, when it comes to the Bond franchise, when they hate on this, I just kind of think to myself, bloody hell, like, get a sense of humor. Like, not you, but some other people who hate this. I'm like, it's it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's not meant to be the most serious, like, down to earth Bond. It's just a bit of camp fun, but
and believe me, I do appreciate that. But as I've stated, I don't hate it. I just don't like it. I just again, I gave it a 4 out of 10 in my review, and I can't really give it much more than that. It's one of my least favorites of the series, but. Yeah, that's all subjective.
I mean, for me, it'd probably be in the middle of my ranking. I mean, I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I was thinking of bunking it down to 7 when I was watching it, but I just thought to myself, well, you know what, I enjoy it for what it is. I mean, it's not perfect by any means. I acknowledge its problems. I think after Only Master's Secret Service, it is a bit of a letdown. It's not as groundbreaking as that film. It's not, as well directed as that film. And, I understand if people don't like this one because it came after that film, and, it was a tough act to follow. But, for me, like I said, I suppose it's sort of a nostalgic value I have for it, but it's also just, I can watch it and have a bit of fun and have a laugh and, just sort of chill out and relax, a more comedic Bond film, like some of those other Roger Moore films that are quite comedic as well, like Moonraker. I just sort of enjoy it on the same level as Moonraker. Moonraker's over the top and ridiculous as well, and I sort of enjoy it on that level, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me also, I just don't find the plot very engaging as well. There's not much of a plot. I mean, there's diamond smuggling and whatnot, but to me, it's after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, a real disappointment. But there are good things in it. It's not a total failure. That's why I gave it a 4 out of 10, and I gave Tomorrow Never Dies like a 2. Like I don't like Tomorrow Never Dies very much at all, or Die Another Day. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, personally, controversial, but I take this over any of the Brosnan films. Even GoldenEye, which I like, I preferred this, but
yeah. I wouldn't go that far, certainly not. But again, I take the world is not enough over this purely because the action scenes are better, and I could appreciate that. At least it was more fun to me, even though parts of that film drag. Again, I wouldn't take it much higher than this, but it does it got a 5 out of 10.
I mean, personally, I'd take this over that film because I found that film to be a boring drag from. That's one of the most boring Bond films I think of all. Like, it's probably the worst paced, along with Die Another Day. But I think that's Sam Harrison's least favorite Bond film, and I can understand why. It's not my least favorite, but I mean, for me at least, this is a bit more believable than that. You don't have a fucking stupid shit with a bullet in a guy's brain, weaving through his brain. But yeah, oh god, I feel nothing.
Yeah.
That was bad, but
Yeah. I mean, what is the point of this scene? Like, thinking about it now, this scene doesn't bear any relevance to what's going on. It's just them to show off some circus tricks. Like, I don't see why we're still in this scene. Like, you could cut.
well, she was getting the diamonds. She was getting the diamonds like that. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously that bit is essential, but some of the other bits you don't really need them.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me that much, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, we haven't seen Blofeld for a while.
Yeah. So I think we both love this.
Yeah. Well, we did say it was going to be a divisive commentary, but that's kind of interesting. We've not really had that so far. We've mostly kind of agreed, even to varying degrees. But this one, yeah, we both disagree quite strongly, but we're being civil about it. That's the main thing. Yeah.
No, fuck you! Joking.
Yeah. Show true, Lash. Wake me when it's over. Only joking.
I will admit, if you cut out some of this stuff, you don't really need it.
Yeah, it's just for show. Like... Diamonds are forever.
I suppose maybe the filmmakers thought, since it was a new decade, maybe they wanted to go for a new style of Bond films. This sort of started the comedic Bond film, and they sort of had the comedic Bond films throughout most of the 70s and into the 80s, and then Timothy Dalton sort of brought that back down to earth. Living Daylights, but yeah.
I mean, they tried to bring Bond, like they tried to ground it in For Your Eyes Only, but that movie has a lot of tonal problems. It tries to be more serious, but then it has all this campy stuff, and it doesn't really know what it wants to do. It just feels very confused. But I mean, at least with Diamonds Are Forever, I'll give it this. It's self-aware. It knows what it is. But I just don't like it. I think it's a film that's always going to divide the Bond fans. It's not going to appeal to everyone, but some people have a fondness for it, like yourself. So I think that's interesting.
Uh-oh. Quite a dark scene for a more lighthearted film.
Yeah. Well, it's the darkest moment in the film. That's saying something.
This film you see more like a Daniel Craig film or a Timothy Dalton film.
Yeah. In that case, maybe it feels slightly out of place then when you think about it.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't mind it because it sort of brings a bit of dramatic tension here. I do like Connery, where he's like, "Oh, who's your connection?" And he like slaps her.
No, he's good in the scene, but the scene doesn't bear as much impact for me because we don't know much about Plenty, and shame that she dies, but oh well.
Yeah.
Tell me about Chico. It's funny because that's almost almost kind of irony to the line that Blofeld says later. He says, showing a bit more cheek, aren't we? Than usual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was picking up the pace now because there's not as much shit going on that's pointless to the plot.
yeah. Well, we're almost halfway through it. When we get to the hour mark, we're pretty much halfway there. So.
Yeah. Have we got to the Blofeld part? Or have we gone past that?
No, we haven't got to Blofeld's bit yet. I think that's coming up soon, actually.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's at the casino or some shit.
Yeah. With Rami Malek in No Time to Die, I hope we actually see him for quite the majority of the film. Hopefully they don't save him until the end or something. Hopefully he's in it quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the film's 2 hours 43 minutes long, so surely he's got to be in it quite a lot.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da.
Cut him off, you stupid bitch.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, that guy in the van, that professor guy in the van. He was Joseph First. He was in the Underwater Menace. He played Zaroff. Nothing in the world can stop me now.
Yeah, I thought I recognised him.
Someone move that car. Do what he says. Hey, I wanted high test. Forget it, Curly. You had your chance and you blew it.
Kind of like this.
Yeah, you had your chance and you blew it, guy. Sorry.
Disagree. Well,
Yeah. Oh. Well, I'll give it this. At least, unlike Die Another Day, it doesn't have crappy CGI, so I'll give it that.
yeah, it's all real stunts and locations, and yeah. I appreciate about it over most of the Brosnan stuff. A lot of those Brosnan films, CGI action, it just doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, not so much in GoldenEye, but I think the other three, yeah.
Yeah, like there was that whole bit in Tomorrow Never Dies where he's in the plane, and it's so obvious it's just CGI. It's like it doesn't do anything for me. Yeah.
Ugh, yeah.
God, Tomorrow Never Dies. That was really hard to sit through when we did the commentary.
Yeah, despite the fact that it was just constant action, it wasn't very engaging at all.
I think you summed up in your review. The action is just tiring.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think. Well, I mean, this film Dies Off Forever. I'd take it over Tomorrow Never Dies, because at least there's not so much action that it's tiring. And I mean, Sean Connery, I prefer him as Bond to Brosnan. So there is that.
Yeah.
Come on, get on with it.
Come on, you stupid man.
You
irritating man.
It's a damn stupid thing to do.
Nothing in the world can stop me now.
I still like that story. I'm sorry, I've really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well.
And I make no apologies for that opinion. I'm sorry. I'm really finding this very slow. I'm finding the pacing to be very sort of limp. It's kind of trudging along.
It was slowed down a bit, but it's not, it's not awful for me. But yeah.
Yeah.
We got safer with this odd radiation. Yeah.
Yeah, Connery's tenure as Bond was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? Considering it was the first sort of tenure, and yeah, he did define the role for the big screen. I'll give him that. But his performance quality definitely changes, quite varied across the 6 movies that he did.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but as the sort of series went on, his Scottish accent became a bit thicker. It's like in this one he's not even trying to hide his Scottish accent. Like in the first one, in the first few, I think, like he was sort of his Scottish accent wasn't that thick. It's sort of yeah. But...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. He sort of emphasizes his accent a bit more. Perhaps he was trying to tone it down for the other films, or he just maybe as he got older, maybe he just developed it. I mean, who knows? I don't know if the guy smoked. Presumably he did. Maybe that affected his voice. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think in the first few he was sort of maybe trying to hide his Scottish accent a bit because in the books Bond was English, so his Scottish accent wasn't as noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely his first line when he says Bond, James Bond, like he has tried in his first delivery in Doctor No, he definitely tries to hide the accent, but I guess he probably found it very difficult to do that, but who knows?
I think that's quite a good joke there. Like, Connery comes in as Klaus Schirmersheimer or whatever, and then he leaves, and then the real one comes in, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Klaus Schirmersheimer, checking on radiation shields."
Yeah.
Oh fuck! They faked the moon landing.
Yeah. Yeah. I never got much out of the moon buggy chase as well. I mean, the moon buggy looks kind of cheap as well. I mean, for obvious reasons because of Connery's salary, but yeah. I think by this point I'd sort of lost interest in the film. So yeah, but if you like it, then fair enough.
Yeah, personally, I think the moon buggy looks fine. I mean, the sets here look fine to me, but yeah. I mean, I like this action scene here. I think it's a bit of fun,
Yeah, slash. I'm surprised they didn't recreate the moon buggy chasing Spectre when they got to Blofeld's lair.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this looks like the place in Spectre, where Blofeld's base was.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle of, is it Tangier or just somewhere in the desert? Like, yeah. I mean, could you imagine though Daniel Craig riding a moon buggy? It looks so silly.
Yeah, well, I couldn't imagine him in flipping Moonraker either, but they did that in 007 Legends.
Yeah. 007 Legends is such a weird game. I don't even want to play it anymore. Like I've sold it. Can't be asked anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the multiplayer co-op is pretty good, but the levels are just tedious, sort of tiresome, and the graphics.
I got stuck on it. I think I got stuck on a license to kill levels or something. It was just gameplay was shit, so I just gave up after a while.
Yeah, the stealth gameplay was the worst part of it. The fact that you couldn't really hide anywhere. It would be so easy for someone to spot you, even if you tried to do a stealth kill. Like, that's what annoyed me. I mean, the On Her Majesty's Secret Service level was quite good in the lair, but it was long. I thought the Skyfall levels are actually quite hard.
Yeah.
No.
I don't mind the soundtrack here.
It's not really right for an action scene, though.
Paul just nicks it off this guy.
It's funny, not even a dirt mark on the suit.
Oh.
How he does it all with such class.
Yeah. What's Bond for you?
Blow up your pants.
With pleasure, lass. With pleasure. I do like that car, the sort of Ford red car.
Yeah. Smile. Your heart is breaking. Smile, even though it's aching.
I couldn't imagine Connery and Joker.
God, yeah. Such a depressing film. Very good though, but yeah, does leave you feeling a bit down by the end of it.
Yeah, feeling a bit cold. Yeah. I was interesting in this. Willard White sort of a reference to Howard Hughes, who was a American businessman, and he sort of went mad, and he didn't really leave his like mansion or whatever it was, and I think this like Willard White sort of a reference to that. Like they did a film with Scorsese and DiCaprio called The Aviator about Howard Hughes, and it's basically who Willard White is in this film. He's basically Howard Hughes, but yeah.
Interesting. I agree about the Blu-ray transfer. I think actually they made quite a big effort with the Bond films to digitally upscale them. I mean, they even did that when they put them on DVD, because obviously originally these were all on video. And obviously as the newer films have come out, that's been sort of easier. I mean, they shoot them now in HD anyway, so...
Yeah.
But it's weird to... I mean, this film, actually, it does look like it was shot recently, and that's a testament to the restoration team who upscaled it. I mean, I think soon you'll be able to buy the 4K versions of the films. You can buy the 4K copies of the Daniel Craig films, but I don't think you can for any of the others. So that's not bad. I mean, they might release a 4K box set with all of the films, maybe when No Time to Die comes out on Blu-ray as well. But yeah, I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, personally, I'm not going to bother with 4K because physical media is sort of dying anyway, and you know,
I don't think anyone's really that bothered by 4K. I don't think it sells well, but I mean, just out of like casual interest, I just found that out. Well, I think it's cool, but I'm happy with the Blu-ray quality. It looks good enough to me.
It's an HD already, and plus I've already upgraded a lot of stuff to Blu-ray, so I'm not gonna fucking upgrade to 4K again and then get rid of all my Blu-rays. It's just pointless. But yeah, yeah,
yeah, exactly.
And it's not like it's standard definition. It's high definition. It's like crystal clear, sharp picture. So happy enough of it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've kind of forgotten about 4K, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah. I remember that guy there earlier, he got the gun out. He's like, "You dirty bastard." I think he appears in the next film, Live and Let Die, that he appears as one of the policemen on the bayou. He's talking to Sheriff Pepper, and I kind of like to think that they're the same character, but yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Imagine Sheriff Pepper in this film.
Yeah. What are you, boy? Some kind of doomsday machine?
Las Vegas. Oh, that's what he'd do. He'd sing "Viva Las Vegas," and spit the tobacco out. "Viva Las Vegas."
Yeah.
Golden Nugget.
Golden Nuggets, yeah. Great
They say,
cereal.
"Yeehaw."
I mean, I know you're not a fan of this car chase, but you got to admit, this bit where, they do the wheelie on the side, that isn't like an impressive stunt.
Yeah. No, that is impressive. But like I say, I don't get much out of the action scenes in this film, personally.
Yeah, that's fine. It's kind of funny. There was a continuity error there. Like the car does a wheelie, comes out the wrong side, so they had to have a scene there, Bond with Jill. With Tiffany Case, and he has to turn the car. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at the fucking bed they're on. I mean, jeez.
Finding Nemo.
Finding penis.
God.
I think it was actually an interesting idea that we made in our sketches. Made Brosnan the child of Connery and Dalton, because I guess it's a sort of pun on the fact that he was basically sort of copying the other actors.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh yeah, I forgot the Felix. I don't know about you, but the Felix Leiter in this film, I'd totally forgotten about him. He's that boring.
Yeah, he's not the best Felix. Although saying that, he's not the worst. I think the worst Felix Leiter is the one in Living Daylights. Awful. Like,
Yeah, John Terry.
yeah, he was just like, "Hey James, I'm Felix Leiter." Like, there was no chemistry between him and Dalton whatsoever, and the actor was just so completely wooden. Yeah.
I wonder why they even put him in the film anyway, like in the Living Daylights, because he's only really in that one scene when they collar him in Tangier, and then he turns up at the end before Whitaker is killed. He's pointless to the whole film.
Yeah, I liked how they referenced the scene where he steps out the window in Spectre at the start, where she's like, "Oh, where are you going?" And yeah, it's a nice reference.
Yeah, I like that in Spectre as well. I suppose that was Spectre was actually sort of a Spot the Bond reference, but in a good way. It wasn't like Tamahori, where the references were so in your face and so obvious. And at least with Spectre, they referenced every film like tastefully.
Yeah, I think my dad caught that reference as well. I said to him, "Well, that bit where he steps out the window, it's like Diamonds Are Forever," and he's like, "Yeah, I caught that." But I mean, yeah, the references in Spectre are done subtly, and people have done videos on it. Like, Spectre references all 24 Bond films, but it does it in a subtle way, not in your face. Like that fucking laser.
So it even references itself.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Funny, I never realised that was a reference to Diamonds Are Forever until you just mentioned it. So thanks for that. I knew about the sort of the helicopter spinning around being sort of like a reference to the Man with the Golden Gun and the slide whistle. But I didn't know about that. Oh, interesting.
No, it is a reference, and I've seen other people say that as well. Like, yeah, because I mean, I always thought that was an iconic scene in Diamonds Are Forever, where he sort of steps out the window and then he ends up in the lift. I thought it was a pretty cool scene, and I think Sam Mendes was sort of calling back to that in Spectre, where Bond just sort of casually steps out the window and goes for a stroll like diamonds. But yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. We would have to do like a Spot the Bond reference in Spectre. Maybe watch it again and I mean, obviously, it doesn't reference No Time to Die, obviously, but you know, all the previous films, it'd be good to see where they reference it. I mean, obviously, with the Craig ones, that's easy because they deliberately refer back to Vesper with the video. They refer back to Green, Silver, and Lashif, like for all the villains. So for Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall. But with the other films, I suppose it would be harder to reference. I suppose the octopus ring is sort of a reference to Thunderball.
Yeah, I think
Kind
it
of.
is. Yeah, it is. And the and that bit where he says "Hello, pussy, Inspector," that's a reference to Goldfinger. You know, uh, when he sees Blofeld's cat and he's like, "Oh, hello, pussy," it's a reference to Goldfinger.
How did you know he was really talking about the cat?
Yeah.
How many jokes? Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It'll be interesting to see if No Time to Die references any of the other films, but I'd rather it not reference all of them as long as it focuses on the main story. Then that's fine.
I always liked this scene here where he sort of hooks himself onto that thing and then climbs up and he's on top of the roof. And you just sort of see the skyline of Las Vegas. Looks very nice visually, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think Connor looks quite good with that black outfit with the red flower or whatever, like rose or whatever. Looks quite good in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he looks good in the white tux as well.
Yeah.
Which he wore earlier. I think only him, Roger Moore, and Craig. I think they're the only ones that wear the white tux, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
I know Brosnan didn't wear it, and Lazenby didn't wear it. I don't think Timothy Dalton wore it, but I don't think it would suit him, to be honest, if he wore it.
Yeah. Set design here is quite good with the doors opening, and that's a nice set, I will say. It's a pretty good set. I think it's Ken Adam,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, always trust Ken Adam to do a good set.
Good evening.
Well felt. That's what we based our Bond life. We took that for the Bond life sketches, Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Yeah. So to be fair, Charles Gray is pretty good as Blofeld. I do like him in the role. He does what he can. He's decent, but I think I prefer Christoph Waltz though.
Yeah, I think I prefer Waltz, but yeah, I do really like Charles Gray. He's got a lot of villainous charm, and yeah, I always love that bit where he sort of turns around and is like, "Oh, good evening, Mr. Bond." It's just I really like his sort of villainous sort of swagger. He's very sort of pleased with himself as Blofeld. He just thinks, "Oh, I'm Blofeld," and Bond, you're just an idiot, and it's just. Yeah, there's a lot of good chemistry him and Sean Connery as well.
Yeah.
And interesting, he got like two Blofelds. Bond didn't think he'd have a worse off.
Yeah. Blofeld is literally like when you think of Bond's arch nemesis, you immediately think of Blofeld. He's the most iconic Bond villain, purely because of the amount of appearances he's had. Whether he's the best, well, that's purely subjective to everyone's opinion, but I think he's up there. Obviously there's various actors that have played him, but I think it will be interesting. If another actor plays him, but I think they should have a break from Blofeld after No Time to Die. But we shall see what happens. But I like Charles Gray. I think he's much better than Donald Pleasance.
Yeah, at least he put something into it, unlike Donald Pleasance. You only live twice, Mr. Bond. I don't get why. Like, I've seen a lot of people sort of praise him and say he's the best Blofeld, but he literally brings nothing to his performance. He's just very, very wooden as Blofeld, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's quite dramatic when he shoots Blofeld. Oh, 2 pussies.
2 pussies for the price of 1.
Sort of interesting. He spots the diamonds around the cat's neck, but yeah.
Mm. Diamonds are forever.
Yeah, no, this is a really fantastic set. I mean, they did a really good job with the set design here. One thing I never understood about the Bond villains, I mean, why does Blofeld and every Bond villain have to explain their plot to Bond in such an intricate way? It's like, oh, hello, Mr. Bond. Here's how to defeat me. So I'll just tell you my whole plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I suppose the audience need to know what's going on, but yeah, perhaps, you know, he's not intentionally trying to give him the tools to defeat him. He's just, you know, trying to make him understand, I suppose. Maybe that's his weakness. But, I mean, think about, like, Spectre. Like, he didn't really tell Bond how to beat him. He just told him what he was going to do and you know, where his jealousy had come from. I mean, but generally speaking, yeah, in most of the movies, they do go on this long monologue about their plan and whatnot. But,
Yeah.
To be fair,
And I suppose it sort of adds to the fun of it, you know.
yeah. I mean, I know we hate the film, but in Die Another Day, they had Graves, or Colonel Moon, whatever you want to call him, delivering a speech to his guests at the party about the Icarus satellite or whatever. So they try and find different ways to do it, but yeah, I mean, I'm not defending Die Another Day for 1 second, but it was just one thing that it did do differently.
Yeah. One thing it didn't do differently was just rip the whole plot of this film.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, how lazy did Tamahori have to get to just fucking rip off the plot of another Bond film? Like, literally, exactly the same plot. Let's put diamonds in the satellite. It's like, we've seen this before, you fucking hack.
The only difference is Bond is Irish, not Scottish.
Yeah. He regenerated again.
Only 40 minutes left. But, I'm sort of zoned out, to be honest. I don't think I'll ever really be able to get into this film. Sad, really. I mean, I want to like it, but I can never find much enjoyment out of it. Even my parents don't particularly like this one. They've never been a fan of Diamonds Are Forever.
Embrace the campiness. You can understand if it's, you know, not people's favorite installment, but, you know, at the same time, I just enjoy it for what it is. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. One thing I will say is I do think I prefer Winton Kid to Boris in Goldeneye. I mean, I find Boris so annoying. Like, they're like, I'm invincible, and bloody hell, Alan Cumming just fucking went so over the top in that film. But yeah,
Yeah.
at least Winton Kid didn't fucking scream all the time. But yeah,
True.
oh shit! You know, it looks like he's in the gun barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
The pipe that he's in. Yeah.
Just falling asleep in the gun barrel, but yeah, he's in some kind of pipeline, some kind of oil pipeline or something. The oil is mine.
God. Sophie Marcoux just could not act.
Mm. Speaking of gun barrels, I think Cary Fukunaga said that there will be a gun barrel at the start of No Time to Die, so that's good.
Oh yeah, Spectre references as well when Bond's talking to the rat.
Yeah. Oh. So it references Diamonds Are Forever twice.
Yeah.
Maybe Sam Mendes likes Diamonds Are Forever then.
I think he might, yeah.
Yeah. The rat. That was kind of funny, actually, yeah. I'd forgotten about that scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally prefer Inspector, but still, it was kind of cute.
You personally prefer Inspector? Yeah.
Yeah. When he's like, who sent you? Who are you working for? I think in that scene, though, we're meant to assume that Bond is sort of drunk.
Yeah. Calvin said he preferred the rat scene in this, but yeah. I mean, I probably prefer this one because it came first, and I do like, one of us smells like a torch handkerchief. Oh, sorry, lad. It's me. Yeah, no, I like the one Inspector as well.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I like the one here. It's cute and it's kind of amusing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was just out walking my rat and I seem to have lost my way.
The White House. Not the White House, but the White House.
Oh god, yeah. Can you imagine if you had a voice thing, or like Donald Trump, like, we are gonna build a huge wall in Las Vegas. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic.
Oh, God. We're going to need Mr. Bond to build a wall. God. He should be the villain in the next film.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, Bond's mission in Bond 26 is to assassinate Donald Trump.
Okay, I just imagine him turning around and saying, I am Donald Trump and I approve Mr. Bond's killing. Trump would be a great Bond villain.
Yeah, because you wouldn't need to do anything in terms of the script. You know, the character's already there, so all you need to do is write down everything he says and put that as his dialogue.
Yeah. He tried to get Bond to drink bleach.
No chance.
I mean, that's one thing I will say. Connery does look like he's having a bit of fun with this, which is good. You know, I think he said he enjoyed making this because it was more lighthearted and stuff. And you know, he had a bad time. You only live twice, so I think it's good that he went out on a better note with this one. You know, he went out on a good note. But yeah.
Yeah. Hi Sam. Sorry, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, even though I prefer Connery as Bond to Lazenby, I think as a film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service for me is way better than this. But again, each to their own. If you love it, great. Glad you enjoy it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, he said that before. Yeah, personally, I think On Her Majesty's Secret Service as a piece of film is much better than this. But I still enjoy this. But yeah, I mean, even though Lazenby isn't as good as Connery, I'd take that On Her Majesty's Secret Service over this because I had the more emotional storylines with Death of Tracy, better plot, I thought. So yeah. The music here is quite good.
Yeah, well, it's the Bond theme, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah, but he sort of adds some other stuff to it, which is quite cool.
Oh, God. I'm sorry. This scene is cringy to me. Just the names, really, like Bambi and Thumper. I mean, really? Oh, and how that Connery gets his ass kicked in this scene is annoying. But,
both pretty sexy, though.
that's true. I know this is played for laughs, but I don't like the names, and I just don't like the way they beat him up. Like, and all he has to do to beat them is dunk their heads underwater. Like, is that it?
Yeah.
This is a man who slaps women. You know what, or did in his Bond movies. So.
Well, I suppose he didn't know they were going to hurt him immediately. But I mean, I suppose they're gymnasts, and he sort of took him by surprise. So, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind being thrown around by these women. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I just personally think this fight scene is unnecessary. It doesn't do anything for the film. It's an excuse to have an action scene, and not a very good one in my opinion, anyway. But yeah, I mean, if you like it, I'm glad you enjoy it. But
well, I mean, I like seeing the nice women on. I mean, come on, why cut this out? You got these nice women on screen, you know, something good to look at.
Oh no, I'm not saying cutting the women out. I'm just saying cutting the fight. You know, it's meaningless.
I suppose they're White's bodyguards, but yeah.
Yeah, Connery's getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, I suppose, like I said, they are gymnasts, but yeah. Oh shit!
Give me a second, Lash.
To be honest, you know, he probably would have kicked their arses in his prime, but he sort of past it by this point.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me, Lash.
Hey, Lash.
I'll show you the breaststroke.
Yeah, low breaststroke to Connery would have another meaning.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to drown them, and that's it.
Oh. You mind shucking my cock down there?
Yeah, I wonder what they were doing down there.
Where the hell is White? I haven't found out yet. Still haven't found out.
Yeah, again, they wouldn't be able to get away with a scene like this now due to the Me Too movement. But again, people just need to watch this and appreciate it was a different time and not toss it off because it doesn't meet to their political correctness guideline.
Yeah. I mean, Bond is a bit of a sexist git, so, you know, it's part of the character.
Yeah, you can't change the character in that regard, yeah. Switching the gender doesn't do anything for it.
I have seen some people complain now that they pussied up Bond a bit too much by making him less of a sexist git. I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but I suppose, you know, times change and they can't, you know, have flipping Daniel Craig slapping every, you know, woman's arse.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Bond is still the tough git he always is, and he's still a sleaze. They've just made him. They've just, you know, tried to reduce it to what is sort of in this day and age is acceptable. So yeah, but to keep the essence of the character is the very least they can do.
Tell him he's fired. He just got shot. I love the look of Bond's face, like, you know, he just got shot, you dick.
Oh, Desmond! I totally forgot Desmond was in this film.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just trying the slot machines.
I'm sorry. Like nothing's happening. Like there's so many filler scenes in this one.
You might be able to put in a good word.
I'm sorry. I can't get into this film.
That's fair enough, you know, no one's asking you to love it.
Yeah. Well, I've only got half an hour left, so hope it doesn't drag too much longer.
Oh god, this scene.
This is just kind of adding insult to injury, in my opinion. This is for me when I said in my review the campiness infects this movie. This is kind of when I sort of drew the line, you know. Blofeld dressing in drag. There's just no point. It's just they're just making a a cheap laugh. It's unnecessary.
I will admit it's not a bad line, but it's just the fact that he's in fucking drag is a bit stupid. Yeah, he didn't need to be in drag. I don't know why he is, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be there. If he's gonna be there, just have him dressed in his normal outfit. Like, to me,
Thank God it's only like one scene, but fuck.
Yeah, but it's one scene we didn't need.
I mean, I know what you're saying about the campiness and infecting this film, but yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty much on the same level as Moonraker in terms of campy fuckfest stuff. Like, you got that whole double take pigeon in Moonraker and Bond going into fucking outer space. Bond going in outer space, for God's sake, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying everything in Moonraker worked, but I appreciated it more because, firstly, nobody dressed in drag, and secondly, I'm more of a Star Wars fan, so I guess that sort of appealed to me. So I was able to kind of just embrace it more. With this, I just find the story boring, and honestly, I don't care about the plot, and it just, it doesn't do anything for Blofeld's character either. Having him dressed in drag, I just think it's completely unnecessary. But
yeah, no, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I personally prefer Moonraker as well. I think Moonraker's.
Yeah.
Does. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, this film does know what it is. It knows that it is a cartoon. It knows that it is a lighter Bond movie and it's a campy Bond movie. But it's just, for me, it didn't know its limits. I think it went too far. Well, just slightly too far anyway. But yeah, again, this is just one person's opinion. So.
Yeah. So, Sam says he's surprised we called it audio fan commentary, considering you don't like it.
Yeah, well, it would. What else was I going to call it? I could have just called it audio commentary. But,
you can't really call audio rant commentary because one person's liking it, the other person isn't, and it's not like you're fucking going nuts watching this. So you're just not a fan of it.
No, like I say, I take it over Die Another Day, but it's not much of a compliment.
I do like Jimmy Dean here as Willard White. I think he's quite good. Get him on the phone.
Yeah. To me, this is just dragging. I mean, I know you're enjoying it, but I just kind of fed up of it now.
Well, I'm enjoying it now. I mean, shit's happening now. This laser's gonna blow stuff up. So I mean, I kind of agree with you in the pacing. Like, the pacing in this could have been a bit better, but the pacing, I will admit, is a bit slow at points when I've watched this film. But it's nothing that really drags for me. There's enough enjoyment for me for it to go by quick enough. But yeah,
I mean, even though I do take Thunderball slightly over this now. I still say Thunderball's a slower movie, but for me, why I take it over is because tonally, I feel Thunderball it has a better tone and it has a bit more budget and it looks better. It's more visually pleasing. The song is great. There's a few reasons why I think Thunderball is so slightly over this, but I can understand why people think Thunderball is the worst Connery film because it is slow. It's terribly slow. But
it's not just that. It's also, I just think the villain in that is crap. Largo, he's no threat to Bond. He's just this old man, and I think the story is so cliche. They're gonna steal these nuclear submarines. We've seen that so many times. I think that's why I prefer Diamonds to Thunderballs, because Diamonds is at least more of a sense of fun and more of a fun romp. And I thought Thunderball just was kind of style over substance. But
I agree about that. Yeah, I also prefer Domino as a Bond girl, personally. Ugh.
Yeah, but personally, I prefer Blofeld to Largo. Oh god, this is a bad effect.
Yeah, it has
Yeah,
dated quite a bit, hasn't it?
it's just that Chinese guy rolling out his eyes. It's so fucking funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of tell the explosions from Bluefeld's laser that they sort of spent the budget on Connery's salary. Like they could have maybe done a bit better with those explosions and things, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, I sort of I half blame them, but I half put it down to circumstance. They didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, it was either hire a new actor for less money or get Connery back, pay him the obscene amount of money they did, um, and have him bring people back to the film. So I imagine this film probably made a lot of money at the box office. They just had to compromise with the sets and the budget of the film. I mean, do you know how much money this film made when it came out? Or, I'm not sure.
I think it did pretty well because because Connery came back, but I don't know how much it made. But yeah, no, I mean personally, I mean Thunderball. I know it has its fans like Alan, but I can't get into Thunderball. For me, it's easily one of the worst of the series, and yeah, I mean Diamonds may not be amazing, but for me, it has more going for it. Like I said, the sort of camp, you know, fun you can get out of it. It's more of a fun romp, For me, it goes by quicker, and you have a better villain, better story. Like for me, Thunderball just I mean, visually it looked nice, but the plot was crap. The villain was shit, and it just dragged like hell. And the underwater fight scenes didn't really do anything for me. So that's why I take this film over that, because this at least has more stuff going for it, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, Thunderball wasn't awful, great either. For me, it was the first sort of bad Bond film of the series. But yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. I do still stand by my review in Thunderball when I said it was the first disappointment of the series, especially after Goldfinger. But I think they should have like waited another year and then before releasing it. They shouldn't have rushed it out within a year, because I think they would have constructed a better story and maybe constructed a film that was better paced. But oh well,
had a better villain as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're coming near the end now. It's just the oil rig section, and then we're almost done.
I will admit, I did say, I think in my review, I think the oil rig stuff is a little disappointing for a climax. But it's not bad. But
Considering this is Connery's last one, you'd think that they would make the effort to do something big and spectacular, but obviously they couldn't because of budget reasons. They had to basically cut out the intended climax and have the oil rig as the climax. So,
yeah, I would have preferred the original climax, but yeah. I mean, yeah, I can understand that people don't like this. It's definitely not one of my favorites. It's not my top 10, but I will go back to this sometimes and watch it and have a bit of fun. There's if someone says, "Oh, let's stick this on," I'm not going to say no, but yeah.
Yeah, there are far better films in the series than this.
Yeah, no denying that. I think Live and Let Die is a way better film. It's one of my favorite film, the one after this, and
the people that don't like,
they're definitely better. Definitely. Sorry.
I mean, for people that don't like Spectre, I say Spectre is way better than Diamonds Are Forever, personally.
Yeah, although saying that, I've seen loads of people shit on Spectre, say it's one of the worst, which I completely disagree with. But yeah,
yeah, we'll have to just defend Spectre for the rest of our lives. I think
Yeah. I actually think this film and Spectre have about the same rating on Rotten Tomatoes, like 60% But
yeah, which is okay.
passable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least like, there's a good chunk. It's a good chunk of people that like it that say, "Oh, it's good," but just not as good as Skyfall, which was most of the reviews, and a lot of people hate it, which is a shame. Oh well.
Yeah. British Grenadiers. No.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, you know, Jules St. John, she rocks the bikini. I'll give her that.
Yeah. What a handsome craft. Such lovely lines. You know, it's kind of a shame this is the last one with Blofeld and Spectre until Spectre of Daniel Craig, because Blofeld actually sound. I mean, I guess he returned in For Your Eyes Only, but that was a bit crap. But it's kind of a shame this is the last one where Blofeld was Filthy the villain, and then Spectre was the main threat, because after this you had the whole rights debacle shit, because they were going to have Blofeld, I think, in Spy Love Me, but because the contract was up, Kevin McClory is going to sue them. So yeah, so this is really the last film with Spectre, and Blofeld is the villain until Spectre, and it's kind of a shame we didn't have Roger Moore or Timothy Dalton or even Pierce Brosnan fighting against Spectre and Blofeld, but yeah,
that is a shame. But you know, at least they came back for Daniel Craig. Like you say, it was always a rights issue.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame because, you know, what do we get? Never Say Never Again, which is an utter shit fest, and that was terrible. I mean, I choose to see this as Connery's official exit because it's way better than Never Say Never Again being his exit. I'll put it back, you bitch.
I mean, you know, there are far worse films than this. You know, this isn't like, you know, it's just very, you know, mediocre to me. It's sort of completely disposable. You know, there are far worse films, like outside of the Bond franchise. There are far worse things than this, but in the franchise, it's just not. It's not very popular, and it's just not. To me, it's not very good. But, you know, that's just me.
Yeah, I think even by the franchise standards, it wasn't that bad. It's probably just sort of mediocre, middle of the list when it came to the franchise. But yeah, I mean, there are far worse installments in this series, and you know, I mean, there are films in this franchise that get your blood boiling, and I don't think this is one of them. This is just sort of like, yeah, you said, sort of disposable. Something like Tomorrow Never Dies or Die Another Day, that just sort of gets the blood boiling because it's just so bad and so boring and just so crap. But yeah.
I mean, you know, this climax is entertaining, but it's just anticlimactic. It ends too quickly, very abruptly, and the Bond and Blofeld don't even have much of a fight. Stupid, could you put the real one back in?
You just become a bit of a bimbo. That's one thing I will say on the oil rig. Like before this, she was pretty clever and pretty smart, and then sort of descends into a bit of a ditzy bimbo in the climax. But yeah.
Yeah, and she can't fire a gun for shit. She can't shoot.
Yeah. Nick really likes Tiffany Case, which I'm glad. I think he said it was one of his favorite Bond girls. So, well, I'm not the only one. And like Calvin as well, I think really likes Tiffany Case. But yeah,
Yeah, I think she gets a fairly mixed reaction among the fandom. I think some people are for her and some people aren't. I just think after Tracy, who's just not much of a character, but again, she's not the worst Bond girl. There are far worse Bonds in the series.
yeah. To be fair though, I think any Bond girl after Tracy would be a big disappointment because she was Bond's wife and very well developed character. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go in for the kill, boys. Yeah. Bloody hell, nearly half a century ago.
Yeah. Sean Connery definitely leaves behind a legacy of James Bond.
So most of the cast of this are probably dead now. Well, I think Jill St. John's still alive and Connery is, but yeah, I mean the director's dead and a lot of the cast. But...
Yeah. Damn you!
Doing a bit more cheek than usual. I mean, Blofeld always wears that sort of safari suit or whatever it is. I don't know what the hell that suit is, but yeah.
It's not like it's not the sort of Nehru jacket that he wears in Spectre, is it?
Well, I mean, Blofeld always sort of wore that suit. I mean, Spectre he sort of wear something a bit different, but yeah. Oh, shit, lass.
You ship a twitch, you put the real one in.
No, I mean, I am kind of glad this was Connery's last one. Not because I dislike Sean Connery, but I think, he's probably time for him to go because he put on a bit of weight and, I think he was sort of done with the franchise. And I'm glad they got in Roger Moore because he did a very good job, I think. And I think if Roger Moore had failed in the role, then he probably wouldn't have had... The series probably would have ended because they tried it once before, Lazenby, and that failed financially. So if they did it with Moore and Live and Let Die failed financially and critically, then the series would have probably been done. But thankfully, Roger Moore stepped in and I say saved the franchise. Probably, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know about Connery. Like, he sort of has a bit of a love-hate relationship with James Bond. Like, he sort of.
It made him famous, didn't it? So he surely can't not appreciate it. But I think in terms of maybe the work ethic of it, maybe he hated that sort of the amount of shooting he did, the fact that he didn't get as many breaks from it as he probably would have liked. Maybe that affected him mentally. And I suppose as well the sort of the publicity side of it as well was probably a lot to handle because it was so popular. Like you say, he was harassed by the press and everybody. So I think that got to him as well. That was probably maybe why he was a bit skeptical about coming back.
I mean, I think he sort of had a love-hate relationship with the character as well because he did say, "I always hated that damn James Bond," and I think maybe he just got really bored with the role, and he sort of wanted to sort of stretch his You know, he sort of wanted to spread his wings when it came to acting. You know, he wanted to,
Yeah.
instead of just being known for James Bond, he wanted to do other stuff like Indiana Jones and Manny Would Be King and stuff like that. Want to be
I
known as an
remember.
actor.
Yeah, I remember watching an interview with him after he'd done this, Diamonds Are Forever, and the guy asked him, "Oh, you reckon you'll be doing another one?" He'd be like, "No, I've done all I can with this character. I've got two projects of my own to look forward to." So he was well and truly done with the character after this. I guess he kind of really did it just to get them out of a rut because Lazenby left. So yeah,
I love this bit. Lower, not up.
yeah. Well, this music is good. But obviously, it was used in some of the earlier films.
Sam said Wint and Kid aren't his favorite henchman. Odd Job is, but I swear he left a comment a while back saying when Kid was his favorite henchman, maybe his opinion changed or something. But I don't know. No, this music here is good, but and then he gives her the flipping machine gun. Damn you, damn you.
Yeah, it's hardly the most exciting climax.
No, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. For me,
Yeah,
the Dying of the Day climax is probably the worst. The laser beam and yeah.
It's not exciting because it's just played for a joke with Tiffany not firing the gun properly. Oh, yeah.
She's already gone.
And it just kind of ends, you know, like, okay, yeah, you got the scene with Wint and Kid later on, but the big climax, it ends within 5 minutes, you know. Yeah.
I was supposed to say I destroyed the place, but yeah. Well, what I want to know is how does he survive jumping from that high of a height from an oil rig and live? But
And wearing a suit as well.
yeah. It's a decent enough climax, but yeah, it is a bit disappointing, I will admit. It's definitely not one of the best climaxes, but yeah.
Oh!
Yeah, but I mean, speaking about Connery, like, yeah, no, he said after this, never again. And then, you know, his wife said, never say never again. So they used that for the title of his film when he played Bond once more, the unofficial one. And yeah, I mean, he shouldn't have bothered coming back for that film because it was just awful. And
yeah, they only wanted him because he was the original Bond. And they wanted to, like you said, they wanted to compete with Eon, who were releasing Octopussy. But thankfully, Octopussy was the more successful film. Even though you don't like Octopussy, at least it was better than Never Say Never Again, from what you tell me.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I would easily take Octopussy any day over Never Say Never Again. Yeah, that's not much of a compliment, though, you know. But yeah, I mean, at least it's more entertaining than that. But yeah, I mean, 1983, I don't think was a very good year for Bond films, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Octopussy has its share of fans. I mean, so it's a bizarre title as well for a Bond film, Octopussy. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for most, I've seen a lot of people who don't like Octopussy. I don't think it's that highly regarded by Bond fans anyway. But there are some fans like Calvin Dyson and Sam. But yeah.
I think Alan enjoys it. Kind of like me and Alan enjoy it, but we don't think it's the best, you know.
Yeah, Alan loves Octopussy though, saying that I think it's in his top 10 or top 12 or something. But yeah.
Yeah, it has gone down in my opinion. Like, I mean, I still prefer it to For Your Eyes Only, but you know, it's a very formulaic Bond film.
Yeah, it's putting it mildly, but yeah.
That was when Roger Moore
it's-
truly started to show his age, I think.
Yeah, I just some of the comedy in that. Well, a lot of the comedy in that I thought sort of failed, and thought the action scenes were. I mean, they weren't bad, but it was just too much. But yeah, I mean, I do like this bit here with Winton Kid, where he's like, "Oh, I've smelt that aftershave before, and each time I smelt a rat." You know, that was good. Yeah. Yeah. No, it looks. I mean, Connery looks like bloody hell. It looks like you could just like reach through the screen and touch him on the face. That's how crystal clear his face looks like on Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yee. She just sits there and does nothing.
Well, I mean, can't really do anything, can she?
It's a bit graphic for this film.
You can really tell he's pissed off that he killed his gay lover. She's doing something now. I kind of like this bit here where he puts the bomb.
Woo! His face.
Yeah.
He left with his tail between his legs.
Yeah. You know, someone point this out. Pretty much all the Connery films, I think apart from Goldfinger, end on a boat. Doctor No ended on a boat with Honey Rider, and then Russia Love ended on a boat with Tanya, and then Thunderball ended on a boat, sort of, and then You Only Live Twice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, You Only Live Twice kind of ended on the little raft.
Yeah, but still a boat, you know, like.
Eh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Diamonds Are Forever. I'll let you start, Jack. What do you overall think of this film, and what would you rate it out of 10?
Fucking shit, 0. No. Great Shirley Bassey song. Yeah. No, Diamonds Are Forever. I think. You want to go first, or?
No. You go ahead. It's fine.
Overall, I think it's a good film. I can understand if people aren't the biggest fan of this film. Like Ollie, I know he's really not a big fan of this. But you know, I've always enjoyed it for what it was. This is the first Bond film that I ever saw, so I kind of have to thank this film for sort of getting me into the franchise. And you know, I mean, after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it was a bit of a come down. It's not as good as that, you know. Maybe they could have gone down that sort of revenge, you know, aspect. That would have been cool. But at the same time, you know, for what it is, you know, for a camp laugh, I think it's fun. There's some good action scenes in there, like the fight in the lift and the car chase, and I like the locales, and I think the soundtrack's pretty decent. It's nice to see Sean Connery return, and I kind of like the fact that he sort of loosens up a bit. You know, he gets to have a bit more humor in there, and I like the henchman, Mr. Winton, Mr. Kidd, and I think Charles Gray's really good as Blofeld. And you know, overall, I think it's a pretty good film. I mean, it does have its flaws. It's not perfect. It's not one of my very favorites. You know, there are some problems, like, you know, Connery sort of put on a bit of weight, and you know, it looks a bit older, and you know, maybe I will say some of the pacing as well does drag at points. You know, it's not, you know, the pacing isn't lightning fast, but you know, I think for the most part, the pacing's pretty decent. But there are some parts where it does drag, and but you know, apart from that, I think it's a pretty good film. You know, it's sort of the start of the comedic James Bond films, the more comedic, lighthearted James Bond films, and you know, I thought it was a pretty decent one to end Sean Connery's era on, and I enjoy it. I've always liked it. And if people don't like it, that's fair enough. But I always enjoy this film. I always have a bit of fun with this, and it's one that I could watch from the Connery era over again, unlike Thunderball. I couldn't watch that again. I could watch this a lot more than that, and sort of have a bit of fun. So I'll close off. I'll give Downs to Forever an 8 out of 10. I think it's good. It's nothing more than that. It's good, but yeah, and I sort of have, like I said, I sort of have to thank this film for getting me into Bond, and it's the first Bond film I saw, so I always have affection for it, and yeah.
Well, thanks, Jack. Sorry to be the downer on this hang up, but yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't like Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, if people like it, then fair enough. That's their opinion. In my humble opinion, I just think this is a very mediocre Bond movie. I think it's a boring film. It drags on. Plot's not really that engaging. It should have been a gritty revenge tale, you know, after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But no, the opening teases that and then kind of dispenses with that idea pretty quickly. It does have good things, like Sean Connery comes back. That's good. I like the Connery's performance here. It's not his best performance, but it's a better performance than his one in You Only Live Twice. So yeah, I'll say that. The title song and title sequence are really good. Both of them are very good. The elevator fight is great, and the MI6 regulars are good when they're in it, and that's kind of it, really. I'm sorry. I think I suppose the locale of Las Vegas is nice, but it'd be nice to have a bit more variety. Not a big fan of Tiffany Case, if I'm going to be honest. She's just a bit of a bimbo. I don't care for her that much. Plenty O'Toole's all right, but she's not in it very much either. Charles Gray's Blofeld is good, actually. Sorry, I forgot to mention he's good. I like him as the villain, although I just don't like it when he dresses in drag. It's just totally unnecessary. And this film has sort of a campiness that, to me, infects it. And to me, I just feel like they didn't know their limits. Yes, there are other campy Bond films that arguably are just as campy as this, if not more. But I think this is probably one of the most campy Bond films I've seen. It just doesn't appeal to me. I like Moonraker on the sole basis that I'm probably more of a Star Wars fan, and then it has a more of a feel of Star Wars. So that kind of allows me to embrace it more. I'm not defending Moonraker for everything it did, because Moonraker is not perfect, but I think it's more fun than this personally. Felix Leiter is also crap in this. The action scenes don't do a lot for me, except the elevator fight. It's just very boring. I just can't get into it, and the climax in the oil rig is so anticlimactic. It's a pretty poor way for Connery to go out, as far as I'm concerned. But to each their own. If people like this film, that's fine. And also, Bambi and the Thumper. That scene should have been taken out. Well, the fight scene should have been taken out, and the names should have been changed. But whatever. It's Connery gets his ass kicked in that. Like, there are some funny lines in here. Like, some of the dialogue's quite funny, and the rat moment is quite funny. But really, I don't care about this film, and the soundtrack is also kind of dull to me, save a couple of tracks. So I will probably give Diamonds Are Forever a 4 out of 10. It's not the worst in the franchise, but it's very low for me. I'm sorry. I just can't get into it. I think the next film, Live and Let Die, is much better. But anyway, so before we go, I'd just like to again quickly say a happy 90th birthday to Sean Connery. Wow, I mean, he made it to 90. That's an amazing achievement. So good on you, Sean. Good on you. So that pretty much wraps it up. Is there anything you want to say, Jack, before we finish?
Well, just to say, I had fun doing this, even if you didn't. Joking.
No, actually,
No, I
to be
mean-
fair, it wasn't as bad to watch as I thought it would be. It was more just a bit boring. But I enjoyed watching it with you. I'll say that much.
Yeah. No, it's fine anyway. You know, yeah, I think I personally think that yeah, it's a good film to end Sean Connery on, and I had fun doing the commentary, and yeah, happy 90th birthday to Sean Connery. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks very much for listening, everybody, and hopefully stay tuned for more future commentaries. We'll see what we can find. And anyway, thank you very much for listening. I'm Mr. TARDIS 11. This is Jack, the Film Fanatic, and see you soon. Bye for now.